Good morning, good morning. Big welcome to Western Dressage 101. We are so blessed to have the WDAA President Cindy Butler here with us today. It's so exciting. It's a little bit of an introduction to myself so you know who the heck I am and what I am doing here. I'm Jenny Rowland Barker. I am the creator of HorseGirl.me, and I'm blessed to be your hostess today. I won't be on the screen a lot here, but this came about from a conversation with my really good friend who is here also, Jen Segedy, and we got talking and she hooked me up with Cindy Butler, and this is something that I wanted to explore myself and explore for our members for a long time. This is amazing that this is really happening. So I want to welcome our WDAA president, Cindy Butler. So Cindy lives in Caseyville, Illinois. She's about 2 hours from me. I'm so excited. But she is the president of the Western Dressage Association of America. Forgive my notes. Cindy has lots of accolades. She has shown horses most of her life, and she's competed in everything from park harness to pole bending, as well as the Western Dressage. She's earned multiple world championship titles and high point awards in the show pen. So she knows what she's talking about. She's managed horse shows. She's trained horses, taught lessons for many, many years, and she has a ton of judging cards. So she's really well qualified to teach us today, and you guys are going to just love her. Cindy and Jen, can you guys jump in? And we are blessed to have Jen Segedy here today too. She is a world champion Western dressage rider. She is on the board of WDAA, so she is well qualified to answer your questions. And she's also won the USEF Horse of the Year award. So this is amazing. So excited to have you guys here. Thank you guys for joining in, and we'll let Cindy take the wheel here in a second. Hey, Cindy.
Hi. I'm glad to be here with you all today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give this over to you, and I will leave the screen so you can just take over the slides.
So I can't right now. There's only 5 slides on there, and I'm waiting for Jen to put my slides up.
Okay, so do you have control of the bottom at where we see those little things there?
5 of
where you
5.
can bring up your materials?
No.
Oh. Where they were yesterday?
Oh.
Let's see, I'll bring up your slides for you.
No, I got it. I think.
You got it?
There you go.
Okay, I'll leave.
You guys, okay. I'm sorry. I'm new to technology, so bear with me here. But this is Western Dressage 101. So it's for Western riders who may be familiar with riding and have ridden all your lives Western, but are new to dressage. So Western Dressage is a new thing. We've been in existence for 10 years. Western Dressage of Association of America is the official affiliate for Western Dressage with the United States Equestrian Federation, USEF. So we're excited that we're the fastest growing equine discipline in USEF history, and I'm excited to share some information about Western Dressage with you all here today. And you'll have to bear with me a little bit. There we go. What is Western Dressage? It's a systematic method for training your horse that anybody can use. So you can have a trainer, or you can maybe not have a trainer, but you'll know what to do next to help your horse be better trained for whatever you want to do with it within the Western discipline. This is why we do what we do. This is one of my favorite quotes, and I know it's kind of hard to read, so I'm going to read it to you. It says, "If you're fond of a horse and wish to do him a real favor, train him well. Teach him good manners, good habits, both in the stable and under the saddle. You need never worry about the future of such a horse if for any reason you may have to part with him. You assure him of friends wherever he goes. perhaps the greatest kindness you can do for any horse is to educate him well. That's why we do this. We feel like we're saving horses' lives. And you're doing it with me. So thank you for doing that. We feel like well-trained horses will always find a home. And I know I get kind of emotional about that because it's a really important mission. So thank you for doing that together with me. So what is the training system based on? It's based on what we call the training wheel. And this is the training wheel. You can see a picture of it on the WDAA website. And I'm going to give you lots of links later, but you know how I do things is I just Google WDAA training wheel and it'll come up that way, but we'll give you the official links as well. The training system is based on this wheel. We start with rhythm up in the right-hand corner, the lightest color, and go around the outside of the wheel. That's what we're trying to develop within the horse. So the elements of the wheel are rhythm, then suppleness, then I can't see because of my everything that goes around the wheel, ending with straightness and collection. However, each of these elements is affected by the rider. So the rider can develop lightness and thoroughness and harmony, which is our eventual goal for every part of the training scale. So as you're doing, even though you're only on rhythm and you're not all the way around the wheel yet, you should still be able to get lightness and thoroughness and harmony through the cooperation of the rider, through the seat, the position, the use of the aids. And that's what we use to develop each of the levels. So the first levels start with rhythm and then go to suppleness and so forth from there. I'm getting used to how to click this. So here's an example. The maneuvers get more complex as horses move up through the levels to accomplish the goals of the training wheel. So an intro level, which is the first level, it starts out with 20-meter circles, halts for 4 seconds, a free walk, a working walk, and a working jog. So there's no loping in the intro level. It's our beginning level, our walk jog level, and anybody can do it. Next level would be basic level, which introduces a lope through the working jog and a free jog. It also, we go to level 1, and then we introduce a whole bunch more maneuvers, including the back, the jog serpentine, and leg yields, and more. So as you learn, then you can move up. Anyone can do Western dressage. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to get the clicks to work there. So there are currently 7 levels and 4 tests in each level. A test is just a pattern, like a horsemanship pattern, and it consists of figures such as circles, lopes, turns, maneuvers, and you can start every new horse at the intro level if you want, or you can start it wherever you think that you need to start. Any equine is welcome in Western dressage. You can see from the pictures here that we have donkeys, we have mules, we have ponies, there's a saddlebred, we have mostly quarter horses followed by Arabians and Morgans and paints. But we have gaited horses and we have every kind of horse that you can imagine. In fact, in our world show, we had about 60 different breeds of horses represented. And we're very proud of the fact that we've trained our judges well and that they recognize the conformation of every individual horse. We can prove that there's not a bias for a type or a breed because we've done some research into what the horses that show at the World Show, and it looks like the same percentage of horses that's entered is the same percentage that wins. So that's really cool to know that no matter what your horse is like, we're not trying to develop Grand Prix horses. We're trying to develop horses who move in harmony and do as well as they can for the conformation that they have and for the training level that they're at. It's very fun and cool. So where do you find these tests that I'm talking about? Also on the WDAA website, which is www.westerndressageassociation.org. And then there's all kinds of tabs there to get you all kinds of other information. The WDAA website has links to just about everything that you want to know about: membership information, events, the rules, the educational materials that we have, information about our High Point program, and membership is only $45 a year or $30 for juniors. We have a really cool thing we call the LMS, the Learning Management System, and it's a series of videos that are available only to members. The videos have everything from how to set up your dressage court at home to actual videos from the World Show where you can hear the judges give the comments and the scores as they go, which is really cool if you're trying to figure out how to do your tests better or how to be a judge. This is what the dressage court looks like. So it's the court within the arena, and the reason that it looks like this and the reason that we have to set up a court is for continuity of tests. The tests are going to be the same size for everybody who rides them, no matter where they are. So in order for us to keep it that way, then we have a regulation size dressage court, and it looks like that. There are letters along the sides, and what's with all the letters? They're like points on a map, just like, you know, Birmingham, Prophetstown, whatever. It's just where you ride to help you navigate the test, know where to go next. This is a really fancy dressage court. Do you guys know where this is? You can type it in the chat if you do. This is probably the fanciest one ever, right? At the Spanish Riding School in Vienna. But you don't have to have this in order to practice Western dressage at home or to compete in it anywhere. So here's information about how to set up your own dressage court at home. There's also a link to this on the WDAA website, but you can do this in lots of different ways. At my house, I paint the letters on the side of my fence, so they're just there. Some people make laminated paper and put it up on the side of their arena. I also have cones at home that have the letters on them, and so I just measure those out and put them up. And some people use ground poles to make the corners of the arena, but you can practice however you want. I've heard some people mow outline in the grass in their back pasture. Whatever works for you, where you have a big flat space, you can practice Western dressage. There are two sizes of Western dressage courts. There's the large court and the small court. And the large court is 20 meters by 60 meters. The small court is 20 meters by 40 meters. We do the first two levels, intro level and basic level, in the small courts usually, and the rest of them in the big court. You might want to take your camera out and take a picture of this slide because it tells you what the conversion from meters to feet is. And I think that that's kind of useful because most of the tape measures that I have are all in feet. So when you want to figure out where to put your markers to make your practice area, then you can use this information. And I'm going to move on, I think. So this is what the small dressage court looks like from the air. So you can see the letters along the side where you would put, and we call the short side and the long side of the track when we're talking about anything that we're going to do in there. And the lines called the quarter line and the center line, those are invisible in real life. But if you want to ride down the center line, then what we're talking about is a straight line between A and C. For most tests, there's an opening at A, and that's where riders enter, and then the judge sits behind C. So on the way to get in to start your test, you're going to enter at A, maybe jog, maybe walk or lope down the center line, halt at X and salute. We'll talk more about that later. And then start your test from there. And the judge will see you at C. Quarter lines are used as markers for some of the maneuvers that we do. And we talk about being on the track, and it's either means just going along the long side or the short side, just like you go around the arena for any other Western discipline. These are pictures of some of the figures that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to show you more specific. And I know this isn't even in English, but you can kind of get the picture. The 20-meter circle goes all the way across the court because the court is 20 meters wide. So the 20-meter circle goes all the way across. The 10-meter circle goes halfway across. And then you can see pictures of serpentines and diagonals, half circles, and just what it looks like if you go straight across the dressage court. Here's a picture of a 20-meter circle in the small arena. So since it's a 20-meter circle and the court is 20 by 40, it's half the arena. It's kind of easy to picture what the circle would look like if you started at A and went through X, which is the invisible center point of the dressage court, and then back to A again, how you could make your circle and make it round. Being round is an important thing, especially in intro where you're learning your geometry for the first time. I always tell all my writing students to make it look round like a bubble. So round like a bubble and not like a banana. Here's a picture of two 20-meter circles in the small court. So you could start at X, you could start at C. Sometimes the 20-meter circles even start at B. This is a 10-meter circle in the small court, and it goes to the middle or to the center line. This one starts at B and goes to X, and it's a 10-meter circle. If you ride basic level test 3, then you can do 4 of these. This is a half circle, return to the track at F. So in the basic test 3, you jog down the short side, down the long side to B, half circle to X, returning to the track in a straight line, change rein at F. Change rein just means change direction. This is a picture of a 3-loop serpentine in the small court. You can see that the lines in between the half circles are perpendicular to the short side because this serpentine goes all the way across in equal loops of the dressage court. This is a 3-loop serpentine to the center line. So you can see here that the spaces between the loops are diagonal and not perpendicular to the short side. And that's just because it's a smaller loop. This is an example of change rein across the arena. You can change rein across the diagonal or across the middle. Change rein just means change direction. It's a way that you change direction. Here's an example of change rein on the diagonal. So this one would be maybe HXF or FXH, and you'll end up going the other way on the track. This is a good example of a loop. What we call a loop is this figure, and the one on the left is the loop to the center line, and the one on the right is the loop to the quarter line. So you can see there's yellow circles, and that's where your horse would change bend. Judges will be looking for a fluid change of bend on this maneuver, and the bend would be in this part, it would be to the left when the horse starts and move to the right for the middle loop, and then back to the left at the next yellow bubble to go around the corner. And it should be smooth and fluid. Oops. So this is a picture of the figures in the large arena. So the large arena can fit 3 20-meter circles instead of only 2. So this is a good thing because at the upper levels, the movements get a little bit more complicated and they need more room. So we have a bigger arena for the harder tests upper levels. Now we're going to talk about gaits. And we have some really cool videos of gaits that we're going to show you that were put together by Gail Matthews, who works for WDAA. She's our really great project manager. And she was able to put together some videos from the World Show. One of the things that's really great about that is I get asked a lot of questions about what should I wear when I show in Western dressage. So as we watch the gait videos, you can see that these are people that are actually showing at the World Show, and they have all kinds of different style. They have different tack. They have different outfits, and you can see what they're wearing and get an idea of that too. The gaits are evaluated on cadence, rhythm, top line, expression, consistency, and length of stride. These are the gaits that we're going to be looking at. We've got 4 different walks, 4 different jogs, and 4 different lopes. So first we're going to talk about the working walk. It should be a 4-beat, active, energetic walk with forward reach. It's a natural head and neck carriage. This is kind of like the walk that you do on a trail ride. It should have the nose slightly in front of the vertical, and the hind feet should touch the ground into or beyond the prints of the 4 feet. So I'm going to try to show you the video now. Here we go. So this is a working walk, and you can see that she is moving forward like she's trying to get somewhere, right? And this is one of the quarter horses at our World Show. She did a really great job, I think, at that show. Trying to get you back to the slides. And the next thing we're going to look at is the free walk. The free walk is one of the things that I had to learn when I first came into Western dressage. I wasn't sure what a free walk was. Well, Western riders do the free walk all the time. We just didn't know it was called that, because what we do is we work in the arena and we practice things, and then we let our horses rest and reach forward as a reward. And that's what the free walk is. It's a relaxed walk with unconstrained forward reaching steps. We want to see the horse reaching forward for contact. So the horse should reach forward and down and lengthen the strides. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in video number 2. So here's the free walk. We didn't get to see this horse start out, but see how the pole goes down and the horse gets round over the top line? The back legs are going forward and taking longer strides. And the horse has a really nice expression on this horse. I'm going to go back again to the slides. And we're going to do the collected walk. And I think I have a slide that has the collected walk and the extended walk together. So we're going to talk about both of those. The collected walk is more of a marching walk. So the knees should come up more than in the working walk. The horse should be on the bit and forward moving, but the pole will be a little bit higher, and the strides will be shorter, but the energy will be the same, and the tempo should be the same. And the tempo is the timing of the beats of the gait. So that should keep staying the same, kind of like a metronome. The horse demonstrates an optimum ground cover for the extended walk. So in the extended walk, it's not so much marching, but the knees will be flatter and the horse will reach out more, and the strides will be longer, but the tempo will be the same. Without hurrying, the horse exhibits balance and freedom and over track. So the back legs step forward up to or in front of the tracks left by the front legs. And let's see what that looks like. So what do you think this one is? The collected or the extended? This one is the extended walk. So see, this horse is really reaching out, making long steps. And as it comes around the corner, it's going to collect, and then you're going to see a difference. And we'll look for the pole to raise a little bit, the knees to bend more, the strides to be shorter but taller. So there's the ears starting to shorten up. And I can see a clear difference between the extended and collected walk. I hope you could too. Working jog is our regular jog. And that's like the jog you do if you're going on a trail ride. It's not like a Western pleasure trot. It's more forward moving. It's a 2-beat jog. The back is relaxed. The shoulders are free. In the introductory, basic, and level 1 tests, the working jog may be ridden either seated or posting. But in level 2 or higher, the working jog should be ridden seated. And let's see what that looks like. This is the working jog. So you can see she's moving right along, and this is a lower level horse because she is posting, which is perfectly acceptable. You can see she's riding in a Basel. And in Western dressage, any age horse can ride in a Basel. Even with a steady tempo. And a really supple, nice round frame. So that was a pretty good working jog. Free jog. So just like the free walk, the free jog is a lengthened jog where we allow our horse to reach forward and down, reaching for contact, and the strides should be longer, but the tempo should be the same. And this comes in at basic level. This is our project manager, Gail Matthews, riding in the World Show this year. And you can see that her horse is reaching forward and down. The pole is lower, the strides are longer, the knees are a little flatter, and she's reaching forward. So that was a really good example of the free jog. Lengthening of strides, or the lengthened jog. The lengthening of stride may be ridden either posting or sitting, and that's at any level. And you can also ride it in 2-point or standing up. So this is a variation of the working jog. It covers more ground and lengthens the frame while maintaining the same tempo as the working jog. So let's see what that looks like. There's more connection than there is in the free jog that we just saw. So here we go. And see how the pole is still high, the connection is still there, and the energy is forward. So it looks different than the free jog that we just saw. And then if we would have had the opportunity to see what she did after the diagonal there, then we would have seen that the strides would get taller and shorter again. And I see Jen Seghetti. Jen, do you have a comment about that one?
Sure. We might want to play it one more time, and I just wanted to point out. So one of the things is if you are riding a test seated, so sitting, when you go to do that extended, you see this gal.
Oh, I got the wrong one.
That's okay. We'll go back. So if you watch her, she's actually riding the working jog seated. So she's seated, and now she goes to lengthen. Then you watch her, she starts to rise. So riding your horse from a Western dressage perspective, this is a great way to do this. That actually helps that horse with the propulsion, impulsion forward. So it's just it's kind of a tip, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that there's so much so much you can do like that with Western dressage to help your horse. And the more that you do it, the better that you and your horse get together and the harmony gets better. So every tip that we can get, we love. Collected jog, and that's just at the higher levels. This is just like I said before, the hocks should be more engaged, the knees will bend more, the length of the strides will be shorter, but the energy will be strong, and the collected jog must be ridden seated. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. So that's a good example of the collected jog. And here's a different horse in the collected jog. I think this is the horse that we just saw a little bit ago. So you could see the difference between that extended jog that horse did and the collected jog now. Different breeds of horses, it looks a little bit different depending on their conformation. We love them all. So collected lope. The horse remains on the bit, moves forward in a 3-beat cadence. The neck should be raised and arched. The hocks will be well engaged. And we want to see self-carriage and uphill tendency at this level. So the horse's strides will be shorter than in the other lopes, but we still want to see that elasticity and cadence. Let's see what the collected lope looks like right here. So that looks fun to ride, doesn't it? It looks like just magic. We're just sitting there and the horse is magically loping along, nice and slow, easy to sit. Working lope. That's our regular lope. So at the working lope, remember, we want to have a place to go for a lengthened lope and a place to come back to the collected lope. So this has to be the middle of the road lope. You maintain the 3-beat cadence. The horse goes forward with even elastic steps, and the back should be relaxed, the shoulders free. There's an obvious push from the hindquarters, but the horse should still be light in contact, and his nose should be slightly in front of the vertical. Let's show you what that looks like. Here you go. This is a quarter horse at our World Show. Sometimes it gets a little bit rough on the rhythm, but this one's a little bit better. So could you see what I was talking about on, I'm going to show that one again. Working lope. See, this one gets a little bit out of the 3 beats, sometimes almost into 4. So that one might not score quite as high as this one, which is more true. Good. Jen.
So I'm just going to kind of pop in and out of here as we watch some of these videos, because I think it's important to, on a couple of important tips for people who are just starting into Western dressage. So if we run that video again, Cindy, I think the thing I'd like to point out is when you're looking at the horse's head, it's not about a headset. If you look at the front of their face, that horse's nose is just out front of the vertical. This horse curling behind the bit a bit. So as you see this horse go by, see how the nose is a bit more tucked in and it's not straight vertical. So Cindy, do you want to give your judges talk then on where the headset should be?
I think the nose should be a little bit ahead of the vertical, but I still like the lope of the second horse better than the lope of the first horse because of the regularity. If a horse comes behind the vertical and curls a little bit, If it's not consistent, then that's okay. If it is consistent, then you will get a comment from the judges that mentions it and gives you a hint to allow your horse to have a little bit more freedom to stretch a little bit more forward and have a prettier top line and more suppleness. So usually we don't want to see curling on a consistent basis, but some of the breeds like the Morgans and the Arabs will be more prone to doing that than the quarter horses or the warm bloods. But sometimes we see it's not ideal.
And it's all about throughness, right? We're wanting the horse to move through their body with the energy coming from behind. And obviously too much in the front end will stop that energy moving forward.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the lengthening of strides, or the lengthened lope. So this is a variation of the working lope where the horse covers more ground and takes longer strides, but it's not supposed to be faster. The tempo is still supposed to be the same. So look at that. Okay, and I think we saw this horse before. And you know, the horses on the slides might not be the best. I'm not going to say that they're all 10s, but they're examples that you can see clearly that they are making a difference in the stride that they had for their working. So this is a longer stride than they had before, and you can tell that that's what it is. So the longer strides, and they're not going faster, they're just making their strides longer, and that's really important to try to do. Counterlope. Do you guys know what counterlope is? So it's loping on the wrong lead on purpose, right? So this is a balancing and straightening exercise, and it appears in the higher levels. I'll show you an example. So this is a counterlope that the horse is doing on a loop. So they started out on the right lead with the right circle, now then moved to the left circle and back to the right, and maintained their balance the whole time on the loop. So they went from working lope to counterlope to working lope. And that's a good way to help your horse get balance and self-carriage going forward and become a better trained horse. You know, the cool thing about Western dressage is that some of these movements look like they're really hard, but because we have this training system, when your horse is ready for that movement, then that's what will happen in the training scale. I know when I first started, I had a new horse, and she was just starting Western dressage. She was in level 1, and she was supposed to do a lead change across the diagonal. And I had been working lead changes on circles. And I thought, well, she's supposed to do this in her next test, and I don't think she's really ready for that, but that's where the training system says to go. And I asked her to do it, and she did it perfect. It's because she was ready, she was prepared, because that's what the levels do for you in Western dressage. So we saw the gaits for regular gaited horses. Now we're going to talk about what if you have a gaited horse. Jen, what do you think?
Well, I didn't get on stage fast enough to talk about this, but I think it's an important thing to think about. Just like you were saying, Cindy, you've been working your horse, and you're a professional. So you're a trainer, you give lessons, you're a judge, all of those type of things. So the training wheel is set up in such a way, just as Cindy has said, how things build on each other. But in Western dressage, you don't really need to have a trainer. That's the thing that's so cool about it, is it's something that us amateurs, and I'm an amateur, can work on in and of ourselves alone. And of course, we have so many wonderful trainers and upper level riders that are able to help you, even virtually, even if you don't have somebody in your local area. and we'll help you, and we'll absolutely help you with that. We can hook you up with folks who will do that from a virtual perspective, so long distance on a Pivo or that sort of thing. And I think that was one of the things that really expanded us in 2020 with COVID, is we went virtual. I mean, Western Dressage went virtual. So I think that's something to keep in mind. So you're not there by yourself. You can do this as an amateur, and there's always people who will be willing to help you.
Western Dressage has a program called Ride a Test. And what Ride a Test is that you video your test and you save it to YouTube and you mail it in the link to WDAA, and WDAA hands it off to one of our large R Western Dressage judges. And that judge will make comments on it and send it back to you. So you don't have to enter a show to get comments to see how you're doing in your training progress. If you're a youth, you get to do it for free one time. So that's really a great benefit of being a Western Dressage Association of America member for youth. So we're going to go on to gaited horses. Gaited horses perform the saddle gait instead of the jog. And what that means is it's a 4-beat lateral or diagonal gait that's timely and consistently performed throughout the test. It might be a foxtrot, it might be a running walk, it might be a tolt, but whatever gait that horse does, it needs to be consistent and it needs to be 4-beat. At one time, Western Dressage Association of America didn't say that it needed to be 4-beat. But one of the things that we do is we send out polls to our membership to see what we can do to improve our association, and if we're going in the right direction that our members want us to go. And our gaited community wanted the saddle gait to be a 4-beat gait. So that unfortunately eliminates horses that are gaited that do a 2-beat gait, so standard bred pacers. But under most gaited horses rules, then a pace is not a desirable thing. So because of that, we changed our rule to make the saddle gait a 4-beat lateral or diagonal gait, and it must be consistent in the tempo and the cadence as it's performed through the test. Our judges are trained to recognize this, and we hope that when gaited riders come in, they will know that they're being judged by competent judges. They will be able to call their tests however they want to make it easier for them. So sometimes when a gaited horse comes in, you'll hear them say, A, saddle gait, X, halt, salute. But saddle gait is a mouthful. So sometimes their callers will still say jog, just so they can get it out faster. So they may say, jog, halt, salute. But if they do, then that's okay. The judges will still know that we're looking for the saddle gait. Sometimes they can say that what their gait actually is. So they may say, enter working foxtrot, X, halt, salute. So there's 3 different ways that saddle gait can be announced by callers, and they're all okay. So the saddle gait has 4 different ways to do it: collected saddle gait, working saddle gait, lengthening of strides, and free saddle gait, just like the jog. So let's take a look. The collected saddle gait is right here. And the interesting thing about this is that there's no moment of suspension in a saddle gait as there is in a jog. So even though the horse is more collected, then you may see the speed or the tempo goes a little bit slower, and that's okay. I don't know if Jen is trying to come on. I think she might want to talk about headset again in the gaited horses. So one of the things that there is, yeah, there she is.
I can't get off mute and come on camera fast enough.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to do all these clicks at the same time, you guys. I'm doing my best here. But see how this horse has its nose a little bit ahead of the vertical here. But the gaited horses are different breeds and they have different requirements for how round they may be or what the um, angle of their head might be. So a foxtrotter has a more flat knee movement, and that horse's head is going to be, can you guys see that, more up here, so that the angle of the head is the same as the angle of the front cannon. And walking horse will bend its knees more, and its angle of its head will be a little bit more straight than a foxtrotter, and that's okay. And our judges know this, and that's what they're looking for. So they don't expect every horse to look the same.
Exactly. So show that last video again. So this chestnut horse is a foxtrotter, and I know we have.
Wait. Oh, let's see. I think that one wasn't. Let me see here. What slide number was that? It was collected saddle gait. There we go. Yeah, it is.
This is a foxtrotter. So we will see in another video or two about to come up, we'll see a black walking horse. So just pay attention to how this horse moves and where this horse's head is versus the walking horse that's coming up. So then you can kind of understand the difference.
Yeah. So working saddle gait is, again, this is our, down the trail saddle gait. It's the one that is in the middle. It has room to collect and room to extend. Let's see what it looks like. There's our
here he is.
Walking horse. So you can see he does have a different angle of his head, and his knees are coming up higher. There's more bend there, a little more bend in the hocks. This is our working saddle gait.
This is a really nice horse. He has won multiple world championships with this guy. He's a really good example.
Yes. And we'll see lengthening of stride. And I know on the slide it says speeding up is a fault, but again, we will see a little bit of speeding up, even with lengthening of strides, because there's not a moment of suspension in a 4-beat gait like there is in a 2-beat gait. We'll see what it looks like. There's the foxtrotter again. And she's moving out a lot more than she was when she was demonstrating the collected foxtrot or the collected saddle gait, if you can see.
But then you saw the transition. I mean, her transition was very clear. So she came around that corner, extended across the diagonal, and then when she reached the other side of the long side of the arena, the horse came right back to her. So here we are, and then you see the extension. And then watch for the change once she reaches the letter on the long side.
Yeah, it's very clear. See right here.
Really nice. And that horse won a bunch of stuff. I mean, I think she won so many in USEF Horse of the Year last year and everything. So she did a really nice job with that horse.
She absolutely did. Free saddle gait. Same thing we talked about with the free jog, the free walk. We want to lengthen and reach forward and down. But again, most of the gaited horses have a more upward carriage of their neck, and the way that their conformation is they aren't going to stretch down and like a quarter horse will or like a donkey will. They have a higher head and neck carriage, so their free gaits are not going to look the same as the free gaits for some breeds, and that's okay. We want to see the difference between their working gait and their free gait. Let's take a look. So this is the free saddle gait. There you go. So you saw how we started, and then you saw a clear difference. So even though this one could be reaching forward a little bit more, you can see that the pole dropped and the neck stretched out and the length of the stride got longer, and now he's coming back to his working gait.
And it's also about opening their throat latch, right, Cindy? That's another way to look
So
at it.
that one could have done that a little better.
Yeah, he was a bit
but it
curled
was
over.
still a good, and it was very clear. Yeah, it was clear that that's what he was doing. So that's what we're looking at. We're judging all those. So we are going to take a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about shows. So right now it is 11:54 where I live. So let's come back in 5 minutes. So it'll be 11, what is that? Plus 5. It'll be 12:01, right? So at 12:01 my time, or whatever 01 your time, in 5 minutes, we'll see you then, and we'll talk about shows. In the meantime, if you feel like staying, Jen's going to talk about our online international show.
Yes. So one of the exciting things, and I think I touched on it a bit earlier, was how much we have gone virtual in Western Dressage. So, and we've got a couple of the gals from Sweden who are on this call today, which is great. They have a whole team up in Sweden that participates in our online international challenge. So that is something that takes place every June. So if you're interested in trying your hand at Western Dressage online, we have an amazing online show, and that's going to be part, we keep referring back to the links. So links to all the information about that online show will be included in that pack. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the info at Western Dressage Association for more information, and then just take a look. I think we do all kinds of different things. We actually have a team competition. So different people can ride in different types of teams. And we actually do even some of the rail classes, don't we, Cindy? Even online. So some of the horsemanship.
We do horsemanship.
Yeah, some of the horsemanship patterns, which are different. And I think we'll touch on those a bit. That are different from the actual test itself. So the judges are looking for a little bit of a different thing in those particular classes, but it's a great opportunity. Plus, I will also provide you guys in those links into our event calendar. We have a separate link for live shows, so you can see the live shows that are near you, as well as the online shows. So the thing that's great about riding in the online shows, especially if you're planning to ride in the online international challenge that I'm talking about, or thinking you are up to snuff to be able to come all the way to Oklahoma and join us at Worlds, it's an awesome opportunity to be able to ride for the judges that you will be riding for in those particular shows. So you can look through the online, figure out which judges you'd like to ride for, and help get yourself prepped for those big shows.
The Online International is the world show of online shows.
Yes.
And we have a tremendous number of riders and horses, and everybody who enters and places gets a jacket with their placing on the back of it. It's the coolest thing ever. You get to enter, and you can film all of this on your phone and then upload that link to YouTube, send it in. You can do this at your leisure. You don't have to have, fancy arena, or you can haul your horse somewhere if you want and ride. You get to redo it if you don't like the one that you had, and submit it. And there's information on the WDAA website about how to film your online rides. And it's really fun because you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So if you have a horse that doesn't like to travel, you don't have a trailer, you live, far away from everybody that has shows, then there's still ways to show.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hello, and we're back. We're going to talk about shows. Is everybody ready? So there are lots of different kinds of shows that you can participate in if you do Western dressage. So any kind of points you want to get, you can get. Schooling shows are just practice shows. And the thing about schooling shows that you need to remember is that anybody can judge a schooling show. So you get what you pay for a little bit there. Remember that the judge at a schooling show may not be trained in Western dressage judging. If you go to a USEF show, then those require USEF Western dressage judges appropriate to the level. That means that you're getting the best trained Western dressage judge in the industry, and that you'll be eligible for USEF Horse of the Year points and awards. WDAA recognized shows can be USEF shows, or they can be schooling shows, but what that means is that they have to have USEF Western dressage licensed judges appropriate to the level, and that riders who ride in those shows are eligible, if you're signed up, for the WDAA Horse Lifetime Points and Achievements Program points. And those points are really fun because they're non-competitive points. So when your horse achieves certain benchmarks in its training, then you get points. And as you move up the levels and compete more, you get more points and you get fabulous prizes. So some of the fabulous prizes are halters, belt buckles, patches, beautiful plaques at every level. And it's really fun to do. You don't compete against anybody. And I think that that's one of the things that make WDAA shows the most fun, is that since we're really competing against ourselves, and I guess we're doing that all the time when we ride in Western dressage, right? Because it's about our own journey with our own personal horse, and we're just trying to get a better score than we got last time, or maybe a better score on the free walk, or whatever maneuver it is that is our challenge. And if we do that, we feel like we won. Even if we didn't get a ribbon, then sometimes it's a personal win, and that's even better. So I think just because of that, and the nature of training our horses through the levelized training program, it makes the competitors that you show against and with actually supportive of you. And so we all started somewhere. We know what this journey is about, and we're rooting for each other, and we're rooting for you. So that's one of the things that's a little different about Western dressage, I think, than maybe showing in Western pleasure or other types of events. What do you think?
And I think I was going to say that's kind of what I wanted to add here. So I have a very beautiful Arabian boy, and I have been in the Arab space for 40 years, type of a thing. But I will tell you guys, Western dressage is a different ball game. From the very first show that I ever showed up at with my guy, and I was just hoping to get him on the trailer and into the show ring, very low expectations. And then he ended up, I think I won the championship for that day. So in intro, but the people that reached out to me came up, complimented me on him and my ride and that sort of thing. You feel instantly a part of a family. And that's one of the things we really call WDAA our family. And I will tell you, the most amazing experience you guys could ever have. And even if you can't bring your horse to Oklahoma, the World Show is absolutely, it's heaven on earth for a week. I mean, you get to see everybody from all over the country. And I will tell you, my first World was in 2019. And I had so many people compliment me, even trainers compliment me. And here I am, just a little amateur rider, on my horse, my rides, and everything else. I mean, most breed shows, and certainly in an Arab breed show, you would never have that happen. So it's just a different group, and we really have such a wonderful rapport and culture in our sport. So it's something you will not be disappointed in. It's wonderful.
When you go to the Western Dressage World Show, that's where you find the people who are just like you. and you
Yeah.
fight your tribe.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you want to show at breed shows, Pinto has Western Dressage, and you can earn national points in Pinto shows. You can earn national points in Quarter Horse Association. The way that AQHA works is that shows can be AQHA recognized. So it can be any show that would ordinarily be an open show. They register their show ahead of time, and they must have USEF Western Dressage licensed judges to judge those classes. And then you can earn national year-end points in AQHA. You can also show in their world show. You can show in Pinto World coming up in June. Arabians have points specifically for Western Dressage. They're breed specific, as do Morgans and a few of the other breeds. So if you ride in a breed that doesn't have Western Dressage, then, you know, call them up and tell them to get with it, because Western Dressage is a big deal. Some shows are combinations of the other kind of shows that we've talked about. So you can go to one show, and like I also have an Arabian, like Jen, and I can go to one show and get Arabian points, Horse of the Year, USEF points, and WDAA like Horse Lifetime Achievement points at the same show sometimes. So I kind of look for those kind of shows to go to. And as we talked about in the break, there's also online shows. And online shows can be schooling shows, or they can be WDAA approved shows. So what's really cool is that you can sign up for that Horse WDAA Horse Lifetime Achieve Points and Awards program, and you can get points in online shows as long as they're WDAA approved online shows. Those shows are worth half points. The WDAA recognized shows are worth 1 times points. And if it's a WDAA recognized show and a USEF recognized show, light show, or regular show, then it's worth 2 times points. If it's the world show, it's worth 3 times points. And if it's the online international, then it's worth 3 times half points, which means 1.5 points. So lots of ways to compete wherever you like to go. And if you need more information about that, then you can ask us on the chat, and you can call up Western Dressage Association of America or contact Diney at westerndressageassociation.org and find out everything that you ever wanted to know. Whoop. All right, so this is just one little section of a big chart. And this is called the competition comparison chart that's available either on the USEF website or the WDAA website. Here's a link, but we're going to give you a handout at the end of the presentation today to get to it. And it just compares what's the difference between a USEF regular competition, a USEF local competition, a USEF light competition, or a WDAA recognized show. And there's quite a few differences, and it's kind of easy to get confused in all of those. So we have this big chart that shows you all of those things. But one of the things that's interesting is that you don't have to be a member to be in a WDAA recognized show. So you do have to be a USEF member to show in some shows. You don't to be in a light show. And there's other few differences in here, like they have to have a steward at some shows. The WDA or a recognized show will have a bit checker instead. So all of those nuances are all together where you can see and compare what kind of show you're looking at if you look at the chart. So just wanted you to be aware that that's there and that you can find it pretty easily. Whatever kind of show you go to, make sure that you know the rules for that show before you go. So for USEF shows or WDAA recognized shows, which use the USEF rules because we help to develop them, there's not a set of WDAA rules that's separate from USEF rules. They're all the same because we work together. Remember when I said that WDAA is the official Western Dressage affiliate of USEF? Well, we are, and we voted to have one set of rules to make it easy, and to make the rule change process transparent. So all of the rules for Western dressage for WDAA and USEF are all together in the USEF rulebook. If you don't know about this, there's a USEF rules app that you can get in the App Store for your phone, and it's free. So download that and have that where you can see it. Make sure that you read it, because it's really hard to win a game when you don't know the rules. If you have any questions about the rules, then you can look there. And it's, online on the USEF website as well. But I think it's really easy to use the app. So you can have that with you all the time and look it up. On the slideshow presentation here, we have some things to think about. In the USEF rulebook, it tells you what drugs and medications are allowed. So make sure that if your horse is on any medications that you know how long ahead of time you have to administer them to be able to still show. And at USEF shows, then drug testing is done. The last show that I went to, I saw 2 horses be drug tested. I know some people were asking me if that ever really happens. Well, yeah, it does, because we care about horses, and that's our number one priority is horse welfare. And so this is important to us, that horses are being taken care of properly. Tack and equipment, what's legal, what's not. There's a picture on the slide of a Western saddle that was marketed as a Western dressage saddle by a manufacturer, and it has a thigh roll on it. Thigh rolls are not legal for Western dressage. So the saddle that was marketed was never legal, but the manufacturer said this is a Western dressage saddle. Hopefully not too many people bought it. I know some people did, and they had to take that off. So, it's kind of like I was telling Jenny yesterday that we were talking about apparel, and I was saying, what hat you wear kind of shows where you come from. And when we first got started, we had some dressage judges that weren't used to wearing Western attire. So when I was explaining to them what it's like, I showed a picture of Michael Kors riding boots. Well, we all know Michael Kors is a fashion designer who designs fashion boots, but they're not really horse show boots, right? So it's kind of like that with tack and with Western attire too. There's manufacturers who design things and they say that it's for Western dressage, but not really. It's more like, fashion Western. So there's a difference. So be aware of the rules so that you know that you're appropriately attired and have appropriate tack. Western Dressage Association of America also puts out a guideline for Western equipment, and there's a link to that on our website. However, the USEF rules take precedence over the guideline, which might not be updated quite as fast as a rule change happens. So whenever there's a doubt, always go back to look at the rules. Another thing I want to point out really quick about the rules is that anything new in the USEF rulebook will be printed in red. So if you're getting ready to go to a show, you haven't looked at the rulebook in a while, then just scroll really quick through the chapter for WD, Western Dressage, and if you see any red print, stop and read that. Just make sure that there's nothing new that you missed. Another thing that's a little bit different from Western shows and Western dressage shows is that you can't just sign up and ride the day of the show. Because dressage has to be done, in an individual basis, and the rides take, between 5 and 8 minutes a piece, then they have to be scheduled ahead of time. And since the rides need to be scheduled ahead of time, then show organizers need you to enter ahead of time so that they can figure out the schedule. So dressage ride times usually come out about a day or maybe a little more than that ahead of the show. So you'll know in advance what time you need to be there, what time you're going to ride, what time you're going to be done. Pretty close. And therefore, you need to be pre-registered for the show. So check your prize list and see how far ahead of the show you need to register in order to participate in a Western dressage show. It might be a couple of weeks ahead of time. It might be 1 week ahead of time, sometimes even a little bit more. So be sure to check that and be prepared to enter early. So I talked already about the attire and equipment guide on the USEF website and on the WDAA website. Here's a link to it. Again, we're going to send you a handout at the end of the presentation that has all of these links. But if you're unsure about your equipment and you're on the way to the show, check with the show steward or the bit checker before you ride to make sure that any kind of tack that might be iffy is legal or not. And I like to say, if you have something that's borderline, then bring a backup just in case. Here's some unique rules about equipment as far as Western disciplines go. Riders may use 2 hands on a curb bit, but may not change back and forth between 1 hand to 2 hands during a test, except for in freestyle. Riding any aged horse in a snaffle, basel, bitless bridle of the cross-under variety or a curb bit is acceptable as long as it meets the USEF rulebook specifications for Western dressage. You can use a smooth leather cavesson, and it can be an English style one, or a rawhide pencil basel as a cavesson. And you may wrap it with black electrical tape to make it smooth, not latex. Latex can be on bits, but not on the basel. And you should be able to fit at least 2 fingers between the horse's cheek and the cavesson. And we get the question a lot, what do I wear? It's pretty much up to you. As long as you have a Western hat or a helmet. I like to wear a hell hat, which is a combination of the both. Long sleeve shirt sleeves can be waived at the discretion of the judge. So if you're in Florida and it's really hot, or anywhere and it's really hot, then the judge can relax the dress code and you can wear short sleeves on that day. Otherwise, you have to wear a long sleeve shirt, some kind of pants, and boots. And the only kind of boots that you can't wear are English boots on the outside of your pants. So you can, if you only have 1 pair of boots and it's tall English boots, you can wear them. You just have to put your pants on the outside of them so that it's not blatantly English, because this is Western dressage. So we try to look as Western as we can. Some people like to look ranchy. Some people like to wear chinks. Some people like to look more formal and wear chaps. Some people just wear jeans. You can wear riding tights with your boots tucked in if they're Western. You can wear half chaps if they're Western. You can wear a simple Western shirt. Jen has kind of a ranchy shirt on. You can wear a real blinged out Western pleasure kind of rail shirt if you want. It's up to you, and your style is your own. The judges don't care as long as you're legal and appropriate, but it makes us feel good when we look good, right? So wear what you feel comfortable in and have a great time doing it. This is optional apparel: necktie, kerchief, bolo, tie or pin, vest, jacket, coat, sweater, spurs. Spurs have to be Western style. They can be English style too. They can be bumper spurs with a little curvy thing on the inside. They just have to have vertical rowels and not horizontal rowels. Again, chaps, shotgun chaps. You can even wear a split riding skirt. Protective headgear is acceptable, but not required. And you can use the same helmet that you use for English riding to ride in Western dressage if you like. So how do you know what level to ride in if you're going to a show? If you look at the big gold oval on the slide, on the top of every test that you have, that will show you the purpose of that test. So what you do is you figure out where you are in your training, and you compare it to the purpose of the test, and you choose what level that you want to ride at. I recommend that everybody who's new to Western dressage start at intro level. Even if your horse can spin and can lope and switch leads and counter lope and do all kinds of fancy stuff, it's just good to get to know the figures and to feel the free walk and the transition back to working walk And, you know, you might not have to spend very long at intro level, but I think it's a good idea to start there no matter what. You can move out as quickly as you like. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You get to pick where you want to ride. The little gold circle in the picture on the slide shows new movements for that test. So every test has the same purpose in the same level, but the test 1 is usually the easiest, and the new movements are added, and the test 4 is a little bit more challenging. So if you choose, oh, another thing is, if you look on your tests, and I know that it's really hard to see on this slide, but there's a column for coefficients. So if you see a 2 under coefficients, that means that movement is worth double. So play to your strengths when you're choosing your tests. If there's something that you're really good at, then pick a test that has that as a coefficient 2. And if there's something that you're not ready for yet, so say you just moved up to basic level from intro level, and you're working on your free jog, but it's not quite there yet. So basic test 2 doesn't have a free jog in it. So you might want to pick that one instead of basic test 1 as your first one until you make your, you know, progress in your free jog. So think about things like that, but it's up to you. You decide how many tests you want to ride in. The thing that you do need to remember is that a horse and rider combination is not allowed to ride in more than 2 consecutive levels at the same competition. So you can ride in intro and basic, or basic and first, but you can't ride in intro and first at the same competition. And if you ride above level 1, then you can't show an intro level in the same year. We do know that horses get older, and, you know, they develop health issues and different reasons why horses might want to move back down from an upper level down into a lower level. And so a combination, horse rider combination, I mean, can go back to intro level in subsequent years, like in the horse's golden years, they can come back and go in intro again, just not in the same competition year. So we're going to talk about what goes on in the levels. So intro level is the first level. It's our walk jog level, and only the walk and jog are performed. The horse and rider are demonstrating smoothness and understanding of the geometry. So this is where we practice what the serpentine's shape is supposed to be like, and that the circles are really round like bubbles. So this is where you go on, you know, when you're just starting out. If your horse isn't totally supple or round, or, you know, there's not a lot of connection there, you don't get dinged really bad by the judges for that, because they're looking for beginning horses and riders who are learning the geometry and starting to develop a partnership. Oops, that was a big jump. Basic level is one up from intro level, and this is where the lope work is added, and there's more emphasis on relaxation, rhythm, and balance, and the horse starts to accept light contact from the bit. Level 1 adds a lot of maneuvers, but it's really fun. There's impulsion and starting of self-carriage. We see lengthening of strides in the jog and the lope. We start the leg yield. We have turns on the forehand and the haunches, smaller circles, the counterlope, and backing while staying engaged. But don't worry, it all happens in, you know, when the time when you're ready. And it's because if you did the work with the intro and the basic, when you get to level 1, you really are going to be ready for those maneuvers. And the tests go in order. They start from the basic foundation of how to do a movement, to asking for a little bit, and then asking for a little bit more, and your horse will be ready to do this when you get there, and you will know.
So Cindy, what you're talking about, I think in each one of the levels, right, there's 4 tests, and then each of those 4 tests build on each other as you go through that level. So starting with test 1, you're at the you're at ground zero for each one of those levels. Just like the levels build on top of each other, the tests do as well inside of the actual levels themselves.
Level 2 starts with more collection and looks for more lightness on the bit, looks for more suppleness. We have movements that include shoulder in, haunches in, 10-meter circles, and a 360-degree turn on the haunches. So you're just moving up. Level 3 collection is even more refined. There's a true collected lope. The hindquarters must carry more weight. So more added movements include the lope to halt transitions, half passes at the jog and the lope, renvers, and rein releases in the lope. Level 4 is looking for uphill balance, engagement, and impulsion, as well as more self-carriage. So level 4 movements should be straighter, they should be more supple and more balanced. There should be a marked lightness with self-carriage, and there should be a solid foundation throughout with a correct, willing, harmonious performance that's performed softly on the aids. Everything builds on what we did before. Whoops, I am clicking too fast. Level 5 is our newest and most difficult level. It adds full pirouettes, tempi changes, and double pivots. So horses should be capable of even more collection and even more self-carriage than the previous levels. One of the questions we get a lot about pivots is, are they spins? They're not spins, they're double pivots, which means that they're performed at the walk tempo or just building speed a little bit from starting at a walk tempo as you go through. And they don't have to stay on the inside pivot foot. They can rebalance as they go around. We're going to have a level 6, but we have not started it yet. We also have freestyles at every level. A Western dressage musical freestyle is a performance that you can choreograph to music that you choose. However, there are freestyle tests listed on the WDAA website on the same web page as the other tests, and that tells you what the required movements are for each of those levels. So when you're choreographing, or you hire a choreographer, which is what I do because I have no ear for music, just saying. But the competitor, the competitor can choreograph the movements that are required into the presentation, and then on the test it tells you movements that are clearly not allowed, because if you do those you get disqualified, so you got to know. And then it'll show you what you're being judged on. So one of the things is creativity, one is degree of difficulty, as well as the technical aspect of performing the maneuvers that are required. So you can think about ways to get added degree of difficulty without performing maneuvers that are above the level. There's a few more rules on musical freestyle that we don't have time to talk about today, but look at the rule book under freestyle and it'll give you some guidelines there. So one of the things about Western dressage, and if you started looking at the tests during this presentation or even before, you can see that they're kind of long. And they're longer than horsemanship tests, which are pretty easy to memorize, right? But these tests are sometimes too long to memorize. Although I do know some really talented kids who can memorize these way better than me. So, I just remember that girl who came in, and she came in and she said, I'm doing basic test 2. And I said, well, no, I have the paper for basic test 3. She said, oh, am I supposed to do basic test 3? I was like, yeah. She didn't have a collar. She said, okay, I'm ready. But you did it perfect. Remembering. I was like so impressed. But most of us, especially me, need somebody to call the test for their best in riding, and that is allowed in the show. So you can have a caller who stands by E or B, which is just on the outside of the dressage court, and but definitely within earshot of the rider, and reads out what your next movement is. So you don't have to stress out about memorizing the test unless you just want to. And it doesn't make one bit of difference to the judges if you have a collar or not. They don't care. It's whatever's better for you. The collar's not supposed to repeat directives unless they think the rider didn't hear, then they can do it once. And no collars are allowed in freestyle because you're playing music, so you wouldn't be able to hear anyway, right? So let's say we're at the Western Dressage show. It's your first show, and you're the next one to ride. So what do? You may warm up in the arena or around the outer perimeter of the dressage court, which is still in the arena, but outside the dressage court, either way. Before you ride, make a pass in front of the judge and verify your number and the test that you're riding. Then, when the judge is ready, the judge will ring a bell or blow a whistle. At that point, that means you have 45 seconds to enter the ring at A and begin your test. Most tests, well, all tests except for intro test 1, begin with a salute. And a salute is just the symbol that begins and ends the test. And what it is you usually ride up to X, halt. That means you stop straight and as square as you can, crisply, and put both reins in one hand and drop your other hand straight down, and then pick your reins back up. That's all a salute is. Men can take off their hats and replace it during a salute, but that's kind of risky because, what if they scare the horse? So most people really do just put both reins in one hand, drop their other hand straight down, no fancy flourishes, and retake the reins and ride off. So you did your test, just finished your ending salute, then what? Don't get off. Ride out of the dressage ring at the walk or the jog, dismount then, and walk directly to the steward or the designated bit person to drop your bridle for inspection. They may not ask for it at every ride because they're supposed to test. It's supposed to check every third. So you may or may not have to do that, but ride out. Don't get off in the dressage court. The steward that's checking equipment will check the cavesons, the spurs, the size of the curb bit, or any kind of other equipment that you have. How do the judges score? They score every maneuver or every box on your test that has a number in front of it on a basis of 1 through 10. Now, you have a list here on the slide of what every number 1 through 10 means. So if you did satisfactory, it might not be pretty, but you got it done, that's a 6. If it's marginal, well, you kind of did it, but there were some problems, then that's a 5. And 10 doesn't mean perfect, it means excellent. 0 means you didn't perform it at all for some reason. So everywhere in between that is a possibility for a 0 to a 10. Every maneuver is scored from 1 to 10. And the best thing about that is that every maneuver is a new chance to get a 10. So if you had a bad maneuver, don't let that mess up your whole day, because your next maneuver could be a 10. And, I've seen a lot of times when somebody has a problem, or I've even had that experience myself, where I've had a bad maneuver, but then you make the best of the rest, because there's still something good to be gained out of the rest of it. And you still can get feedback from the judge about these other maneuvers that you're working on. And that's one of the beauties of dressage that's better than some of the rail classes that we do in traditional Western horse showing. If you go in Western pleasure or horsemanship and you blow your lead, you're pretty much done for. But in Western dressage, if you blow your lead, that's just one maneuver out of maybe 19. So you can still win the class even if you miss your lead. And I know you can in Western pleasure too. It depends on what happens with everybody else. But I think that dressage is a really good opportunity for you to make the most out of every maneuver and have an opportunity to get feedback from the judges on every maneuver, and then, go home and practice and improve.
Well, and I was going to add too, in the tests, there's always at least 1 or 2. In the intro, there's usually 2, and then as you go up in the levels, they'll become more and more movements that actually have a double coefficient. So for instance, an intro, the free walk is always a double coefficient, and I think it's the halt is also a double coefficient. So if you, for whatever reason, blew your circle, you have a rock and free walk that horse just swings and really covers some ground, you can make up whatever point or two that you missed in your 20-meter circle easily with an amazing free walk. So that's the other thing, is you start to become a bit strategic on how you ride things. So
Absolutely.
it's a good thing to focus on those movements that have the double coefficients when you're practicing with your horse.
So also on your test, the judges will have collective marks on the back of your test that are given to evaluate how well the rider and the horse achieved the overall goals for the test together. And the riders get to keep a copy of the scored test with the judges' comments. The judges always make general comments on the back, as well as comments on almost every score as you go. And you can take that information home and use it when you practice. And that's part of the whole process of the training system, is that not only do we give you the system, but we give you the method to get feedback on how you're doing using the system, so that you're not on your own ever. You're working together with, the developers of the system and with the judges that you go to with every show. If you do it online, or if you do it in person, or if you do the write-a test, or you do an online lesson even, you don't have to ever go to a show if you don't want to. You can still use the system to make your horse a better trained horse and to develop your skill as a rider.
I will share a little tip as well, I guess. I actually have friends who make fun of me, but I have a giant spreadsheet. And in my giant spreadsheet, I take each of the tests and then each of the scores for each one of the movements. And then I correlate everything, so then I can really pinpoint the things that I need to work on. So I used to have friends that laughed at me a lot, but then when I started actually winning championships, they didn't think it was so funny.
They wanted their own spreadsheet.
That's right.
So what does it mean if the judge blows a whistle during your test? Anybody know? Usually it means there's an error. So if a competitor makes an error of the course, that means they took a wrong turn or forgot a movement or something like that. The judge makes the circle too small. The judge will warn them by blowing the whistle or ringing the bell. If you hear the whistle or the bell during your test, look at the judge. The judge will tell you what to do. So the judge will say, no, go back to B, and you were supposed to jog that circle, not walk. And then you start up the test again from there. The cool thing about this is an error will give you a deduction, but it also gives you a redo. So you get to redo that maneuver, and you still have the opportunity to get a 10. You have some penalty points, but you still have an opportunity to get a 10. So don't get too wigged out if you get an error. It's not the end of your test. You have an opportunity to go back and make the best of the rest again. Usually the judge will show you where to go, and then your caller should listen and not talk during this time, even though it's really challenging as a caller not to say, you were supposed to, anyway, but listen to the judge so that the caller knows where to resume the test too.
I would add one more thing. I've actually had a friend of mine who is a very successful Western dressage rider. When I'm reading for her, she has asked me to repeat what I just said. And I'm like, I can't repeat that. So you also, if you have somebody reading for you, it's also very important that you actually know your test as well. So they can't repeat something if you didn't hear them or didn't understand them. So make sure.
Well, and at my age, G and D and P all sound the same. So
absolutely.
Sometimes I have a hard time hearing that. So it's good.
It was one of those things. She's like, did you say P or did you say B? So that's and I was on the chat here, we were talking about callers. So that's another thing. So when you're practicing with your caller at home, hopefully it'll be the same caller that's going to be at a show with you. You may work on intonation and how somebody actually says the letter. So there's different ways to do that to help just confirm where and what you need to do.
Exactly. So I told you there was a penalty for the errors. The first error is -2 points from the whole test. The second error is -4 points. And unfortunately, on the third error, the competitor is eliminated. It's different in freestyle. In freestyle, every error is -2. But remember, there can't be errors of the test in freestyle because you make up your own choreography. So the judge won't know ahead of time what your choreography is. They'll just know that you're supposed to make, 20-meter circle or a 10-meter circle or what gait you're supposed to perform. So there's not error of the course in freestyle. The errors in freestyle are not cumulative, so you don't get eliminated for them. There are also other kinds of errors, like if you don't salute, then that's an error. The judge may not blow the whistle, but you'll still have an error on your test, and it should explain why on your test.
And I let me say one thing, because this I think is something to think about too. I have only received one error, so I have been riding for 4 years. So I've only had one error on one test. And I will tell you, and I'll try not to cry, but I will take that error any day, because actually what happened is my horse and we were in such harmony. I actually started crying when I was riding him, and I totally went off course. And it was hilarious because it was like, I didn't even know where I was. It was like I was in kind of this beautiful harmony bubble. So like I said, I would take an error for that any day. And actually that particular test, I still was high point of the day for that show, even with 2 points off the top. So guess what? You get an error for going off course. If you're in that harmony bubble, you take it every single time.
Good. So these are ways to get disqualified. If your horse steps out with all 4 feet, fall of horse and rider, illegal equipment, and all of these things are ways to get disqualified. So we've talked about the tests, but we also have rail classes. We have suitability, hack, and equitation, and we're going to cover those really quickly. Suitability is for intro and basic level horses. They must not have shown in Western dressage competition tests at first level or above, or at hack class. Hack is for a more well-trained horse. Suitability is a rail class to see if your horse is suitable for Western dressage. If you've ever shown in hack or first level or above with that horse, and I don't mean horse and rider combination, I mean that horse is ever shown in those, then it's not eligible to be in suitability. The gaits that you show at in suitability are working walk, working jog, working lope, and the back. The free walk is performed in at least one direction. So those are the gaits. There's also walk jog suitability, and you can ride the working jog either sitting or posting. Whoops. So these are the objectives of suitability. Mostly, I want you to remember that 70% on performance of the horse and 30% on the rider's position and use of aids. So it's kind of like a way to see if your horse is suited, like suitability, suited for Western dressage. I like to say, once you go hack, you never go back, because you go back to suitability. So hack is for a more well-trained horse. And here's the qualifying gaits: working walk, collected sitting jog. Collected jog must be ridden sitting. Working jog, lengthening of the strides at the jog. Collected lope, working lope, lengthening of the strides at lope. All both ways of the arena. Also, there needs to be a back, a free walk, and a free jog. and the free walk and free jog are at least one direction. The transitions are through the working jog, and the horse can be asked to reverse direction at the working jog. All the jog work is to be ridden either sitting or rising, except for the collected jog, which should be sitting.
And we like to call that the marathon class because that is the longest class.
Kind of like show hack. It takes a while. Yeah.
And most of the time when the girls come out of that or the guys come out of that class, everybody's just like exhausted because they've done all of those both ways of the arena. So you got to be in shape to handle that one. That's for sure.
And it's also judged 70% on the gaits and the transitions with attention to impulsion and submission. So on the horse's performance, the 30% on the rider's position C, effective use of aids. Whoops. And we have 3 kinds of equitation classes. We have horsemanship, which is pattern work only. So it's a pattern that's kind of like a test, but shorter. You don't get a collar, kind of like a Western horsemanship class, only with dressage kind of movements. There's equitation on the rail, which is only a rail class. And there's combination equitation, which is the rail work and the pattern work. So let's talk about them one at a time. Equitation, rail work. And this is the thing that you need to remember for all equitation classes is that the working jog must be ridden sitting. There's no posting in equitation. No posting in equitation. I said it twice because many times we have seen this at the World Show. People come in and they're doing great and then they post. So what happens when they post? They cannot place higher than anybody who didn't post. So they might not get last place, but they're going to get lower than everybody who did not post. So this is judged on rider's position, rider's correct and effective use of aids, and harmony between the rider and the horse, which is what we're really after in Western dressage. The equitation patterns, if a pattern is used like in combination equitation, then 50% of the score is based on the rail work and 50% is on the pattern part of the class. The patterns are selected by the judge and they're found on the WDAA website. We offer intro, horsemanship patterns. And we just changed the rule. So we have intermediate and we have advanced. So the intro equitation patterns have movements from intro and basic levels, and then the intermediate or intro levels, just intro levels because it's walk and jog, sorry. The intermediate patterns have movements from basic and level 1, and the advanced patterns have movements from level 2 and above. And you can decide which one you want to go in. So there's a lot more rules for equitation too. So if you want to ride in that, then please check the rules and look at the patterns that are on the website. And if you've heard our presentation today and you want more information, and we hope that you do, then you can get lots of help after today. And here's some of the ways. WDAA's website has all of this information on it, educational materials. If you join, you can see the LMS videos. There's rules and tests. There's equipment guidelines, frequently asked questions, information about the World Show and how to do video submission for online shows. There's so much information there, and it's so fun to be part of this. There's if you're somewhere remote and you're thinking, you know, this sounds like so much fun, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. Who can teach me? There's a professionals directory on the WDAA website. It's only available to members who have logged in. So, you know, try to become a member and you can get that information. There's a link to how to become a member. And I think we've also had that link as part of this webinar where you can see it and you can join online. You can pay by PayPal and become a member right away and then have access right away to not only the LMS, learning management system, and all the videos that are there and the educational material, but you can also become a member of the WDAA Social Corral, which is our members only Facebook group. You can join a state affiliate, which is the WDAA group in your state. Not every state has an affiliate, but you don't have to join the one from your state if you don't want. If you find one that has better benefits, join that one. One of the things that WDAA has authorized is a rider medal program. So everything in WDAA honors the horse and awards any kind of awards that we have to the horse. But we have a rider medal program so that riders can ride more than one horse and accumulate points towards rider medals. And those are administered by our state affiliates. You have to be a member of a state affiliate that offers that program in order to be eligible for it. I live in Illinois. Illinois has a rider medal program, and I'm part of that. But if I like the medals that Florida or California or Michigan offer better, I can join those too. And I can join all of them if I want and be in all of the rider medal programs. It's up to you. I think there's a lot of freedom in Western Dressage to do and use the benefits of Western Dressage in the way that works best for you. So, do what you like. Consider becoming a member. You'll have access to the WDAA calendar of events. We try to put all of the shows that are WDAA recognized there. That doesn't mean that every Western Dressage show will be there, because there are shows that aren't recognized. If you have a clinic, then submit that clinic to WDAA and we can put it on the calendar so that more people will know about it. Every clinic might not be there if the organizer doesn't put it there, but a lot of them are, and we try to make sure that organizers know about this benefit so that members can know about this benefit. But even if you're not a member, you can still see the calendar, I think, and you can still use the tests. But we hope that you will support the organization, because it costs us a lot of money to get all that stuff together and to keep everything going and try to have a atmosphere for equine community to build better trained Western horses. So we love that you're interested in doing this with us. And with that, I think Jen's monitoring the questions, and I know she's been answering them as we go, and I haven't been able to see the questions, but Jen, is there anything that we need to answer?
I think I have answered the majority of them. If anybody has something specific for Cindy, please go ahead and add it into the chat. But I think I have answered most of them.
I have a question from someone that couldn't be here today.
Oh, good.
She asks, is it, and I don't think you covered this, but maybe I just didn't hear it. Is it okay to talk and cluck to your horse in Western Dressage when it's not in regular dressage?
That's a good question. And it is. In Western Dressage, as I said, our biggest priority is the horses, and we do allow soft talking and patting of the horses. So yeah.
And you can cluck?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. That is good, because I can hardly stop talking. That was hers. And then I had a question about coming. Does anyone band their horses like they do in like the pleasure horses? You can band.
Sure.
They do. They do. And in some of the breed specific shows, even horses do come in with English braids because they're cross-entered. But I've seen people that you can have your mane just loose, you can have it braided, you can have it banded. Different people do different things. It's what you like.
I was going to say, I do with Bear, because he's an Arab. He doesn't even have a bridle path. I don't even clip him. So clipping is not required. Horse makeup is not required, any of that. So Bear, I band his forelock just to keep it out of his face and not flying around, but the rest of it is loose.
Cool. So is there any rules like,
Yep.
Can you do like the, show sheen and gloss on their face?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Peppy and all that.
Well, I mean, we don't do sparkles in the mane.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, some of the Liberty folks do. I mean, they can do that in freestyle, especially if it's a costumed freestyle, right, Cindy? So
Yeah.
anything like that, but you're not doing ribbons and flowers in your horse's hair when you're riding a test.
Okay, I'm good on that then.
Darn,
Darn, I couldn't put in the
and
power.
I have to say, and Lisa, I see your question on whiskers. So, my boy is actually European, so in Europe they don't trim anything. So he is fully natural. I don't trim whiskers, I don't trim ears, I don't trim eyes. He is all natural.
But you can trim them if you want to.
If
You
you
can.
want to, sure. There's plenty of people that do, but you don't have
The
to.
judges don't even notice the difference.
No.
It's not about that. So
Nope.
it's what you feel most comfortable with.
Awesome. So good. This has been amazing. I learned so much. And I
Well,
have
thank
so
you
much
all
more to
for
learn.
joining us. I hope that it's at least piqued your interest, and we would love to have you come and show with us. So how do we share the handout?
I did share it. I do want to make a
Oh.
little quick tip about the handout is so it's a PDF, but if you just plain print it, you're not going to really be able to see the link. So it's really a PDF that's used to pull up on your computer or your phone or whatever. And when you click on a link, it's going to leave that page. So just remember you're just going to arrow back to it or pull it back up again. And I'll make sure to have that available to you guys on the replay page. I'll put it below also.
And I've got a couple of questions here. So there was an ask about feet for gaited horses or shoes. So unlike breeds, we don't have specifications on all of that. So if there's anything from a USEF perspective overall, that's what I would refer to for anything like that. So I know with Arabians, there's certain measurements and that sort of thing, but we don't necessarily do that in the Western dressage space. And then I see a question about tails and tails extensions. We have folks who put tail extensions in their horses' tails, so that's certainly allowed.
But not a tail bag. So you have to take your tail out
Correct, not a tail bag.
before you come in the ring, but you can't have the tail extension.
It looks good. Donna says,
Any other questions?
Donna says, I see there's a virtual show coming up in June. Time to get in the saddle.
That's right. There's lots of
Let's
them.
do it.
Get off the fence and get in the ring.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been so amazing. And yes, Kim, there'll be a replay since you're here and you signed up for this class. I'll make sure everybody gets the replay from Horse Girl. And then there'll also be a replay. Will that be available just in the LMS system or on?
Yes, on for Western Dressage members, it will be available in the LMS system. Yes, learning management system.
Great, but we'll get you guys a replay, so no worries. So lots to study. Well, thank you guys so much.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Have an amazing day, everyone.
Get out and ride. Go ride your ponies.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.